to another disaster that's been going on for almost a year now, the war in Ukraine. We're learning an Azov assault brigade of the Ukrainian army fired Soviet-era howitzers near Bakhmut. As a Russian militia leader says, fierce fighting is raging in the town's north. Head of Russia's private Wagner militias said on Sunday, fierce fighting is ongoing in the northern part of the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut, which has been the focus of Russian forces' attention for weeks now. A gunman of the Azov unit, 20-year-old Volodymyr, said his MSTA-B howitzer was targeting the infantry and that Russia was leading in an offensive in the area. Russian forces have been attempting to encircle and capture Bakhmut, a city in the eastern Donbass region, for weeks. It appears to be making slow, grinding and costly progress. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine's army is reacting as Russian forces attempt to encircle Bakhmut. A fierce fighting has been taking place for weeks now. It's been the focus of Russian forces' attention. If Russian forces do capture the city, which has already been decimated by months of artillery shelling, it would be their most important strategic advance since last summer, when initial offensive through the east of Ukraine came to a halt and was eventually reversed in a series of Ukrainian counter-offensives in the second half of 2022. Speaking during his nightly television address, President Zelensky said that power outages in a significant part of the region following a fire on Sunday left thousands of people without electricity.
Today I held another staff meeting. Many matters discussed. The key thing is the actions on the front line, in the Donetsk region and in other areas. Special forces to Bakhmut, our defense. The occupiers attempt to encircle the city and break defense lines there. We are reacting. We also consider the matter of supply of ammunition for our soldiers. Artillery is one of the key factors. As always, the Commander-in-Chief and the commanders of the directions reported. The head of intelligence reported on the current plans of the occupier.
Meanwhile, members of the United Nations Security Council have called for Russia to end its war in Ukraine. During a debate on Monday, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, said Russia's President Vladimir Putin could end the invasion by pulling his troops out of Ukraine and really allow for peace to take place. The West has imposed sweeping punitive measures since Russia's nearly year-old invasion of Ukraine that has devastated cities, killed tens of thousands of people, forced millions to flee their homes and shaken the global economy.
Stop bombing critical infrastructure and killing innocent civilians. Until Russia does, global humanitarian donors must stand by the Ukrainian people. We need to prioritize winterization assistance to address immediate humanitarian needs and support the government of Ukraine's efforts. Humanitarians from the UN and NGOs are on the ground right now trying to help. We have heard your compassionate calls for negotiation, for a cessation of hostility. This is in the hands of one person, President Putin alone. Putin started this war, and he can end it today by pulling his troops out of Ukraine and really allow for peace to take place. For Ukraine, this is a matter of survival. Experience this.
I now give the floor to the representative under Rule 37 of the representative of Ukraine. Excuse me.
We appreciate having this meeting as civilians, in particular women and children, remain the most vulnerable to the inhumane Russian war against Ukraine. Russian missile and drone terror remains a major threat for the civilian population throughout Ukraine. On January 26, another massive attack with 55 air and sea-based missiles killed 11 people and injured 11 more. Even if not followed by a strike, every single missile alert is accompanied by air raid sirens, which disrupt the normal life of the civilian population throughout the country.
I'll give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Silvio Gonzato, Chargé d'Affaires ad interim of the delegation of the European Union to the United Nations.
Madam President, it has been almost a year since the Russian Federation launched its unprovoked and unjustified attack on Ukraine. This blatant violation of international law and the UN Charter has led to senseless suffering for a sovereign and independent nation that was simply looking for prosperity and democracy. It threatens not only Ukraine, but the entire rules-based international order. The Russian aggression has led to high landmine contamination, which poses a major threat to human security, restricting relief aid delivery and preventing civilians from returning to home safely. We are gravely concerned with the continued attacks of Russian armed forces around Ukrainian nuclear sites and the illegal seizure of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The EU fully supports the IAEA's work to assist Ukraine in ensuring nuclear safety and security and to maintain the implementation of safeguards pursuant to Ukraine's safeguards obligations.
Russia's massive airstrikes, often in densely populated areas, are causing indescribable human suffering. And they do not only destroy critical civilian infrastructure, they kill innocent men and women, boys and girls, and leave others without heating, electricity, and water. These facts have also been corroborated by the UN Commission of Inquiry. It is clear that perpetrators of such crimes must and will be held accountable as soon as possible. Madam President, we once again call on the Russian Federation to immediately cease all its hostilities and unconditionally, completely and immediately withdraw all of its forces and military equipment from the entire territory of Ukraine within its international recognized borders in order to find a diplomatic solution. Sadly enough, this needless war might hit the upcoming one-year mark. It has been ongoing for too long already, and Russia must end it now. Thank you.
Earthquake in Turkey and Syria. The world needs a just and sustainable peace in Ukraine. Russia must stop seeking to shift blame and must face up to some very basic truths. First, it must acknowledge the immense suffering its war is causing to its own people, the people of Ukraine, and people around the world. And second, it must recognize that there is one clear solution to end this suffering.